Do you remember the last time someone broke a promise? That moment when expectation turns into disappointment. Unfulfilled promises are like an iceberg. The visible part is just a fraction of what truly exists. The pain they cause is often suffocating, but what remains hidden is even deeper. Broken promises can arise from various situations. Among friends, it's common for a word given to turn into a letdown. That invitation that never materialized, the promise of support during a tough time that didn't happen. This creates a space filled with silences, where unspoken words weigh more than any misunderstanding. Each time a commitment is not honored, trust slips away, leaving a trail of frustration. In romantic relationships, this dynamic intensifies. We often talk about love and devotion, but it's in the small promises that cracks begin to show. The promise of being there, of being unconditional support, can turn into something distant. When these promises go unfulfilled, what was once a strong bond becomes a rope about to snap. Unexpressed emotions start to accumulate, creating a deafening silence that can lead to conflict-free separations, yet carry the mark of disillusionment. In the family realm, promises are even more delicate. When a parent promises to be present at an important event and doesn't show up, it echoes throughout the family dynamic. Children, for instance, grow up expecting that words mean something. When they are constantly let down, it shapes their perceptions of love and commitment. These emotional silences reverberate through generations, perpetuating a cycle of distrust and disappointment. Sometimes, broken promises are not intentional. Life can be unpredictable, and people can fail without meaning to. However, the emotional impact does not diminish. The pain of disappointment sets in, and frustration can turn into resentment. This resentment, when left unaddressed, creates a chasm between people. What could be an open conversation transforms into an internal dialogue where guilt and sadness intertwine. Reflecting on these experiences can be challenging, but it is essential. Recognizing the pain caused by broken promises allows us to better understand our own expectations and those of others. This opens the door to empathy and communication. When we manage to name our suffering, we begin to heal the wounds that we often carry in silence. The unfulfilled promises that divide us are not just about broken expectations, they are about the fragility of human connections. Through vulnerability, we can share these pains and perhaps find a way toward reconciliation. It is an invitation to understand that even in silence, there are meaningful stories that deserve to be heard. As you reflect on all this, you might find yourself in similar situations. Each person carries their own disappointments and expectations. The important thing is not to let these silences become insurmountable barriers. Let's explore these experiences together and perhaps find ways to rebuild the bonds that have been broken. Broken promises can be devastating, and often their impact extends far beyond the moment they occur. They seep into daily interactions, family dynamics, and friendships, creating a web of distrust that can be difficult to unravel. When someone fails to keep their promise, the feeling of betrayal can be overwhelming. What should have been a commitment, an act of trust, turns into an emotional minefield. In the workplace, broken promises can have equally serious consequences. A colleague who promises to help on a project but fails to deliver can leave you feeling overwhelmed. This not only affects the quality of the work, but can also create a tense and distrustful atmosphere among team members. Unfulfilled promises in this context can erode collaboration and morale, leading to a cycle of resentment that spreads. Each time a commitment is not honored, productivity and trust within the team are compromised. In social circumstances, breaking promises can impact how we relate to others. When a friend commits to attending an event and backs out at the last minute, it can create a feeling of abandonment. People tend to feel devalued when their expectations are not met. This devaluation can lead to a gradual distancing, where a once vibrant friendship becomes a superficial connection, marked by uncomfortable silence and a lack of communication. The effects of unfulfilled promises also manifest in intimate relationships. In a romantic partnership, trust is the foundation that sustains the connection. When one partner promises change or support and fails to follow through, it can result in emotional turmoil. The feeling of betrayal may be accompanied by a sense of mourning for the relationship that could have been. It's common for one partner to start feeling insecure and questioning their own worth after a series of broken promises. This insecurity can turn into a vicious cycle of doubts and conflicts that may lead to separations. In the family context, the situation is even more complex. Promises made by a parent hold significant weight. When a child grows up hearing promises of support and love that are not fulfilled, it can shape their worldview. This child may begin to believe that promises are just empty words, leading to difficulties in trusting others when they become adults. The pain of an unfulfilled promise can manifest in issues with self-esteem and future relationships. The impact of broken promises in families can be profound and lasting. Furthermore, broken promises can be especially painful in contexts where vulnerability is required. When someone opens up about their insecurities and anticipates a commitment of support, and that commitment is not honored, the pain is intensified. The expectation of being heard and supported is essential for building healthy relationships. When this expectation is frustrated, emotional wounds deepen, making it difficult for the person to trust again. How we handle these experiences is crucial for our emotional health. It is important not only to acknowledge the pain of unmet promises, but also to find ways to cope with that pain. Open communication is a powerful tool. Talking about how you feel regarding a broken promise can be the first step toward healing. This doesn't mean confronting the other person aggressively, but rather expressing how the situation affected you. Often people are unaware of the impact of their actions, and an honest conversation can pave the way for understanding and eventually reconciliation. Another important aspect is forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or minimizing the pain caused, but rather freeing yourself from the emotional burden that broken promises can carry. By forgiving, you allow yourself to let go of the hurt and move forward. This is especially important in relationships where the connection still holds value. Forgiveness can be an act of love, not just for the other person, but above all, for yourself. Self-reflection is also vital. Asking yourself why certain promises affect you so deeply can provide valuable insights. You might find that your expectations are shaped by past experiences or a need for control. Understanding these patterns can help you approach future interactions in a more balanced way. By recognizing your own reactions and expectations, you can develop a healthier approach to future relationships. Ultimately, it's important to remember that we are all human. Broken promises are often unintentional. Life is full of unforeseen circumstances, and sometimes people simply cannot fulfill what they promised. This understanding can help ease the pain and pave the way for more constructive dialogues. In summary, unfulfilled promises have a significant impact on our lives and relationships. They can create emotional barriers that extend over time and across generations. However, by approaching these experiences with empathy, communication, and forgiveness, it is possible to find pathways to healing and reconnection. Stories of disappointment can transform into narratives of resilience, where understanding and vulnerability create space for new opportunities for connection. When we reflect on unfulfilled promises, it's essential to recognize that each one carries an emotional weight that varies from person to person. For some, a broken promise may be just a minor disappointment, while for others, it can be a deep wound, triggering a cycle of distrust and insecurity. This emotional impact should not be underestimated, as it can shape the way we relate to others and even how we view ourselves. Once trust is broken, the path to rebuilding it can be long and challenging. Often we do not know how to approach the topic, fearing that an honest conversation may lead to more pain or unnecessary conflict. However, silence and omission only feed resentment. To break this cycle, courage is necessary. The first step in dealing with an unfulfilled promise is self-reflection. Asking yourself why this situation affected you so deeply can help clarify your emotions. Do you feel devalued? Do you feel that your needs have been ignored? Understanding the root of your pain is an important step toward directing the conversation with the other person constructively. When it comes to expressing your emotions, sincerity is key. When addressing the person who broke the promise, it's important to communicate your feelings clearly and directly. Talking about how you felt regarding the situation can open up a space for dialogue. Often the other party may not have realized the impact of their actions, and when confronted gently, they may feel motivated to apologize and reassess their behavior. Additionally, it's important to remember that not all broken promises are signs of disloyalty or malice. Life often presents unforeseen challenges that can make fulfilling commitments difficult. Acknowledging this does not diminish the pain you feel, but it does allow for a broader perspective on the situation. This understanding can help soften anger or frustration, paving the way for empathy. Another important aspect to consider is the difference between intentions and actions. Often people have good intentions but fail in execution. This disconnect between what is intended and what is realized can lead to significant disappointment. Understanding that intentions do not always translate into actions allows you to begin working toward a space of forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiveness, in turn, is a powerful tool for emotional healing. Forgiving is not just a gift you give to someone else, it is also an act of self-care. When you hold on to resentment, you allow it to drain your energy and affect your mental health. Letting go of that burden can provide a sense of relief and freedom. Forgiveness does not mean you have to forget or ignore the pain. It involves recognizing that life goes on and that you deserve peace. However, forgiving is not a linear process. There may be times when you feel ready to move on, and other times when the pain can resurface. It is normal to experience ups and downs throughout this process. What's important is to continue allowing yourself to feel and reflect on these emotions without judgment. Another approach that can be helpful is the practice of empathy. Trying to understand the other person's perspective can help dismantle anger and frustration. Ask yourself, what might have led this person to break their promise? What challenges might they be facing? While this doesn't justify breaking a promise, it can create space for understanding and possibly reconciliation. In work environments, for instance, broken promises can affect not only individual relationships, but the entire team dynamic. An unhonored commitment can create an atmosphere of distrust, hindering collaboration and communication. Investing in an environment where open communication is valued can prevent these issues. Regular meetings, constructive feedback, and a supportive culture can help create a space where everyone feels comfortable expressing their concerns. In family contexts, communication is equally crucial. Discussing promises made and broken can be painful, but it's necessary for healing emotional wounds. Parents and children, for example, need to understand that the responsibility to honor promises is mutual. When a parent fails to attend an important event, it's crucial that this situation is discussed openly, allowing the child to express their disappointment and the adult to explain their circumstances. Ultimately, being aware of one's own expectations is essential. By recognizing that not everyone has the same definition of commitment or responsibility, you can adjust your expectations of others. This doesn't mean becoming cynical or giving up on hoping that people will keep their promises. Rather, it's about creating a healthier space for relationships. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and express your expectations, you open the door to understanding and strengthening connections. Unkept promises don't have to mean the end. They can transform into opportunities for growth, learning, and potentially reconnection. By addressing these situations honestly and openly, it's possible not only to heal wounds, but also to build stronger bonds based on trust and empathy. Unfulfilled promises often create a space of resentment that can be difficult to overcome. The feeling of betrayal extends beyond those who break promises. It also affects those who receive them. This can lead to a dynamic of distrust, where each new commitment is questioned and every word is scrutinized. This vigilance can create tension in relationships that might otherwise be healthy and happy. When it comes to friendships, it's vital to recognize that expectations can vary. One person might regard a promise as a mere formality, while another may see it as a serious commitment. This disparity in perception can be the root of many conflicts. To address this difference, it is crucial for both parties to have an open conversation about what each expects and values in promises. Dialogue is the key to avoiding misunderstandings and future frustrations. Additionally, it is important to consider the impact of broken promises in the workplace. The workplace is a space where promises often intertwine with professional responsibility. When a colleague fails to keep a promise, it can affect not only the individual but the entire team. Unfulfilled work can lead to delays, added burdens for other members, and a sense of demotivation. Therefore, cultivating an environment where communication and accountability are prioritized is essential. This may include regular meetings where expectations are discussed openly, allowing everyone to feel heard and valued. On the other hand, we should also reflect on how we manage our own promises. Sometimes we may commit to doing more than we can realistically fulfill. This can result in a cycle of unfulfilled promises, creating frustration not only in others but also within ourselves. Self-assessment is crucial to ensure that the promises we make are realistic and achievable. By setting healthy boundaries, we can avoid overwhelm and, consequently, the breaking of promises. Another aspect that deserves attention is the matter of forgiveness. Although forgiveness is often discussed in an emotional context, it can also be a practical tool. Forgiving someone who has broken a promise may not mean that you have to fully trust that person again, but it can free you from the burden that this hurt carries. Forgiveness can be a crucial step in moving forward, allowing you to focus on relationships that are positive and fulfilling. Still, the process of forgiveness is not linear. It's natural to feel hurt and need time to heal after a disappointment. It's important to give yourself that space. Forgiveness often requires reflection and self-compassion. Acknowledging your own emotions and the impact that broken promises have had on you is part of the healing process. It's also valid to consider that the person who broke the promise may be facing their own struggles. Sometimes life circumstances can be unpredictable, leading to misunderstandings. This understanding doesn't diminish your pain, but it can help you see the situation in a new light. When we can look beyond our own hurt, we are able to cultivate empathy. Empathy is a key element in rebuilding relationships. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you can better understand their actions and reactions. This understanding can open doors to more meaningful dialogue, where both sides can express their emotions and concerns. In romantic relationships, open communication is equally vital. When a partner fails to keep a promise, the tendency may be to hold a grudge. However, addressing the situation honestly and directly can lead to a quicker resolution. Conversations about how each person feels regarding broken promises can be painful, but they are essential for strengthening the relationship. Additionally, it's important to remember that even in family relationships, dialogue is indispensable. Parents, children, and siblings should feel comfortable discussing broken promises and expressing their emotions. These conversations can be challenging, but they are necessary for fostering an environment of understanding and mutual support. It's vital for all family members to know that their feelings are valid and that it's safe to share their frustrations. Additionally, self-reflection can be a powerful tool. Ask yourself which promises are most important to you and why. Identifying what you truly value in the promises of others can help you communicate your expectations more clearly. This clarity can prevent future disappointments and create a space conducive to healthier relationships. Finally, it's essential to recognize that while broken promises can cause pain and disappointment, they also offer an opportunity for growth. Each disappointment can be an invitation to reflect on what you truly want from your relationships and how you can communicate more effectively. By approaching these situations with empathy and honesty, you not only heal, but also build a stronger, more connected future. When it comes to dealing with broken promises, the first step is to acknowledge the pain they cause. This pain can manifest in various ways, from frustration to deep sadness. It's crucial to understand that these emotions are valid and part of the human experience. By allowing space for these feelings, you begin a journey of self-understanding and healing. Communication is an essential tool in this process. By talking about how a broken promise affected you, you enable the other person to comprehend the impact of their actions. This exchange can help restore trust and promote mutual understanding. Often, people don't realize how much their words or actions can influence others. However, it is important to approach the conversation with an open spirit. Instead of attacking or blaming, share your emotions clearly and calmly. This not only makes the conversation more productive, but also opens the door for the other party to feel comfortable expressing their own feelings. This dynamic can be transformative, allowing both of you to explore the situation in a new light. Additionally, it's essential to remember that breaking promises isn't always intentional. Life is full of unforeseen events and challenges that can make it difficult to honor a commitment. Recognizing that the other person may be dealing with their own struggles can help soften the sting of betrayal. This empathy can be the first step toward reconciliation. Another important strategy is to work on building your own emotional resilience. This means learning to cope with disappointment in a healthy way. Practices such as meditation, journaling, or even therapy can be helpful for processing these emotions. By focusing on taking care of yourself, you can find a balance that makes it easier to move past unfulfilled promises. Vulnerability also plays a significant role in this process. By allowing others to see your weaknesses, you not only promote greater intimacy, but also encourage others to open up. This can be especially powerful in romantic relationships, where honesty and vulnerability are key to strengthening bonds. Forgiveness, as mentioned earlier, is a powerful tool, but it's important to understand that it should not be forced. Everyone has their own pace for forgiving and moving on. By giving yourself the time needed to process the pain, you can eventually reach a point where you feel ready to let go of resentment. This act of liberation does not mean forgetting, but rather choosing not to allow the pain to continue affecting you. In the workplace, open communication is even more crucial. Creating a space where colleagues feel comfortable expressing their concerns can prevent unmet promises from becoming a source of conflict. Regular meetings, constructive feedback, and a supportive environment are essential for maintaining high morale and promoting collaboration. When everyone feels heard and valued, the likelihood of promises being kept increases. Additionally, it is essential that leaders and managers show commitment to honoring their own promises. This sets a standard for the team and creates a culture of accountability. When leadership is transparent about its expectations and fulfills its promises, it inspires trust among team members. This trust is a vital component of organizational success. In family relationships, communication should also be prioritized. Discussing unmet promises can be challenging, but it is necessary for healing. Parents and children need to understand that emotions are valid and that it is safe to share frustrations. By addressing these issues, you not only help to resolve conflicts, but also foster an emotionally supportive environment. Self-reflection, as mentioned earlier, is fundamental. Ask yourself what you truly value in others' promises and why that is important to you. Identifying your own expectations can help clarify your emotions and communicate your needs better to others. This not only prevents future disappointments, but also promotes healthier and more balanced relationships. When it comes to friendships, it is important to recognize that expectations can vary among individuals. What is seen as a serious commitment to one person may be perceived as a formality by another. This can be a common source of conflict. To avoid misunderstandings, it is crucial for both parties to discuss their expectations and values. An open dialogue can help align perceptions and minimize disappointments. In intimate relationships, communication about broken promises is equally vital. Addressing a partner about how you feel regarding a broken promise can be painful, but it is essential for strengthening the relationship. This conversation can help clarify misunderstandings and create a space for both to express their feelings and concerns. Finally, it is important to remember that everyone is human and that broken promises often are not intentional. Life is full of challenges and unforeseen events, and circumstances can make it difficult to fulfill commitments. This understanding can help ease the pain and open pathways for more constructive dialogues. In summary, broken promises have a significant impact on our lives and relationships. They can create emotional barriers that extend over time and generations. However, by approaching these experiences with empathy, communication, and forgiveness, it is possible to find ways to heal and reconnect. These experiences of disappointment can transform into narratives of resilience, where understanding and vulnerability create space for new connection opportunities. When reflecting on broken promises, remember that each carries emotional weight that varies from person to person. Everyone has their own expectations and experiences that shape their reactions. Therefore, when dealing with broken promises, practice empathy, open communication, and forgiveness. These steps can not only help heal wounds, but also strengthen the bonds that are important to you. Broken promises have the power to shape our interactions, and dealing with their effects requires a conscious effort. The pain they cause can manifest in different ways, affecting not only the relationship between the parties involved, but also each person's perception of themselves. It is essential to recognize that expectations and promises are built on individual experiences, which means that each person can react differently to the same event. When a promise is broken, the first reaction is often frustration. It's the feeling that someone did not value what was agreed upon. This frustration can evolve into a cycle of distrust that extends to other areas of life. If the breaking of promises becomes a pattern, it can be difficult for the person to trust again, creating an emotional barrier that may take years to overcome. It is important to understand that when confronting someone about an unfulfilled promise, you should not do so merely to express your pain. It is also crucial to be open to hearing the other person's perspective. This can provide insights into their motivations and circumstances that you may not have considered. Sometimes the reasons for not fulfilling a promise are legitimate and can help restore the connection. Effective communication is a fundamental pillar in building healthy relationships. By communicating clearly and honestly, you create a space where both parties feel heard and valued. This does not mean that you should constantly tolerate unfulfilled promises, but that the conversation should be a pathway to understanding and strengthening the relationship. A frequently overlooked aspect is the need to clearly define what it means to keep a promise. For some people, this may involve the immediate execution of a task, while for others, it may mean a more flexible commitment. Establishing a mutual understanding of what each person expects can help avoid future disappointments. Clarity is especially important in workplace environments, where collaboration relies on mutual commitments. In family relationships, the dynamics are even more complex. When a family member breaks a promise, the pain is felt on a deeper level. Family bonds are often based on the expectation of support and unconditional love. When these expectations are not met, the impact can be devastating. It is crucial for family members to feel comfortable discussing their emotions without fear of repercussions. This can help create an environment where everyone feels safe to express their concerns. Furthermore, it is essential for each family member to recognize their responsibility to honor their promises. Through open dialogues, a space can be established where everyone can discuss their expectations and commit to respecting them. This not only strengthens family ties, but also teaches children the importance of keeping promises, preparing them for healthier relationships in the future. The role of self-reflection cannot be underestimated. Asking yourself what you expect from the promises of others can help shape your interactions. If you find that you have expectations that are too high or unrealistic, it may be necessary to adjust your perceptions. This does not mean you should accept unfulfilled promises, but rather that you should find a healthy balance between what you expect and what you can realistically receive. Forgiveness is also a powerful tool in situations involving broken promises. However, it is important to understand that forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It is a process that requires time and reflection. When you forgive, you are choosing not to allow the hurt to continue affecting your life. This allows you to focus on building healthier relationships instead of being stuck in the past. In professional environments, breaking promises can lead to a climate of demotivation and distrust. It is vital for leaders and managers to keep their promises and establish a standard of accountability. When a leader shows commitment to honoring their own promises, it inspires trust among team members, fostering a positive work environment. Additionally, regular feedback is an important practice. When everyone feels comfortable giving and receiving feedback, the likelihood of promises being kept increases. This culture of open communication can prevent misunderstandings and ensure that everyone is on the same page. It is equally important to recognize that not all broken promises are intentional. Life often brings unexpected challenges that can interfere with someone's ability to honor a commitment. This understanding can help soften the pain and open space for empathy. By putting yourself in someone else's shoes, you can better understand their actions and reactions, which can facilitate conflict resolution. The impact of unkept promises also extends to friendships. Often these relationships are built on simple promises, such as "I'm here for you" or "let's meet up." When these promises don't materialize, the friendship can start to deteriorate. This can create a space of resentment that, if left unaddressed, can lead to gradual distancing. The solution lies in cultivating empathy and open communication. Talking about how you feel regarding unkept promises can help restore the connection. Often the other person may not have realized the impact of their actions until you bring it to their attention. This conversation can open a path for understanding and reconciliation. Ultimately, when dealing with unfulfilled promises, it's essential to remember that everyone is human. Failures are part of the human experience. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and express your expectations, you pave the way for understanding and strengthening relationships. Unfulfilled promises don't have to be the end. Instead, they can turn into opportunities for growth, learning, and reconnection. By approaching these situations honestly and openly, it's possible not only to heal wounds, but also to build stronger ties based on trust and empathy. Breaking a promise is not just a matter of unfulfilled words. It reflects the fragility of human relationships. When you face the disappointment of a broken promise, it's natural to feel betrayed. Trust, once broken, can take time and effort to restore. This applies to all types of relationships, whether they are familial, romantic, or professional. One of the most complicated aspects of broken promises is the lack of communication that often surrounds them. When a promise is made, there is an implicit expectation that both parties understand the importance of that commitment. However, the reality is that perceptions can vary widely. What may seem trivial to one person can hold significant weight for another. This underscores the importance of clarifying expectations from the outset. For instance, in a work environment, a manager who promises a promotion to an employee may not realize that this promise has been interpreted as a firm commitment. If, for any reason, the promotion does not materialize, frustration and resentment can build up. The employee may begin to question their own worth and trust in their leader. Therefore, it is essential that leaders not only make promises, but also be transparent about the challenges and uncertainties that may arise. Additionally, communication should be a two-way street. When someone breaks a promise, it is crucial for the other party to have the opportunity to express their feelings. This exchange should not be seen as an accusation, but rather as a necessary conversation for mutual understanding. This way, the party that broke the promise can have the chance to explain the circumstances that led to the failure, while at the same time, the affected party can share how it impacted their trust and well-being. In romantic relationships, the breaking of promises can be even more painful. Often, couples make promises of love, support, and presence. When these promises are not kept, the feeling of betrayal can be devastating. In such moments, it is vital that both partners are willing to openly discuss their expectations and feelings. This conversation can be challenging, but it is fundamental for rebuilding trust. The role of vulnerability should not be underestimated. When you open up about your insecurities and the impact that breaking a promise had on you, it creates a space for your partner to also feel safe in sharing their own vulnerabilities. This exchange can help strengthen the relationship, showing that both are willing to work together toward a solution. In family dynamics, broken promises can have a profound impact. Parents who fail to keep promises of support or presence during important moments can leave lasting emotional scars on their children. It is essential for parents to recognize the importance of honoring their promises, as this contributes to the development of self-esteem and trust in their children. When a parent misses a significant event, the child may internalize this experience as a message that they are unworthy of attention or love. On the other hand, it's important for children to also understand that adults face challenges and that sometimes promises cannot be kept. This understanding can be achieved through open conversations, where parents explain the circumstances that led to the broken promise. These discussions can help shape a more balanced perspective on what it means to make and keep promises. Additionally, self-reflection is a valuable tool in any relationship. Reflecting on your own expectations and what you value in the promises of others can help shape healthier interactions. When you realize that you may have unrealistic expectations, you can adjust your approach and become more understanding. This doesn't mean accepting unfulfilled promises, but rather finding a balance that allows for more harmonious coexistence. In the workplace, this self-reflection is also essential. Often, people take on more responsibilities than they can handle, leading to a cycle of unfulfilled promises. By learning to set realistic boundaries and communicate your capabilities, you can avoid creating expectations that you are unable to meet. This not only benefits you, but also improves the overall team dynamic. One often overlooked aspect is the importance of feedback. In any relationship, whether personal or professional, the exchange of feedback is vital. When you express how you felt about a broken promise, you also give the other person the opportunity to understand the impact of their actions. This feedback should be constructive, aiming to promote mutual understanding and growth. Furthermore, Forgiveness should be an ongoing practice. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the emotional burden that hurt brings. This release is essential for moving forward and strengthening relationships. Forgiveness can be a challenging process, but it is a necessary step to heal the wounds caused by unmet promises. Finally, it's crucial to remember that life is full of unpredictability. Sometimes promises are broken due to circumstances beyond a person's control. This understanding can help ease the pain and pave the way for a more empathetic dialogue. When you allow yourself to view the situation in a new light, you may find space for reconciliation and understanding. In summary, dealing with broken promises is a common challenge in our lives. However, by approaching these situations with empathy, open communication, and a willingness to forgive, it's possible not only to heal wounds, but also to strengthen the bonds that matter to us. Unmet promises can be opportunities for growth and reconnection, as long as we are willing to face the pain with courage and vulnerability. Before you leave, do two things now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.